Om Shanti. Harmonizing relationships. In the experience of human connection, there are periods when things are smooth and in harmony, but equally, there are patches when things don't go so well. And there's a feeling of friction or even just roughness that comes. Is there something that I can do to create harmony? If I'm expecting others around me to change so that they become easier to deal with, more pleasant to work with, more loving towards me, I may have to wait a very long time. I don't know how long it'll take for that to happen. However, if I decide to change myself, I can make that happen instantly. I can make it happen now with the power of my mind. I create a different consciousness within. Until now, I've been wanting to take. I may not have realized it, but on a subtle level, I've been seeking love and respect and support and cooperation. Now, I turn to the inner resources that I have, and in this awareness, I also connect with God so that I have access to infinite resources. All the love, the support, the strength, the inspiration that I need comes to me from the ocean. There is an unlimited supply that I can connect with. I fill myself from this reservoir, and as I fill, I let go of my expectations. I realize I don't need to take. Connecting with the source has given me all that I need, and now I can simply share. I can simply give to others around me. My vision and my attitude is transformed. I am no longer a taker, but rather I'm able to give. With the dropping of this expectation, I can feel settled and stable within myself. I bring this into my relationships with all others around me, and being able to give smooths out all the rough patches, and harmony returns. Harmony within my own mind, and harmony in connection with others. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Welcome back. So this is going to be part 2 of a look at relationships and harmony. And it's a good topic because relationships really tend to take a lot of space in our life. And unless you're really living as a hermit and that you don't want to interact with anyone, then suddenly, even then, your relationships will be with the bugs, with the clouds, with the little wooden stove that doesn't work. So even then, you'll still be caught into maintaining relationships with things or animals, nature. So there would be no way not to have any relationship at all. And even if we were to be in a jail, in a tiny little cell, we'll be having full relationship with the self. So relationship doesn't go away, can't get away from relationships. And last week we looked at relationship with the self by redefining the self. So if you remember, we mentioned about 6 elements that are required to define relationship: the name, the form, the location, the address, the attributes, qualities, the skills or the profession or the activities, and the definition of the relationship I have with myself or other people. So whenever we look at the concept of relationships on the basis of those 6 filters, it completely changed the experience that we can generate in a relationship. Just as so tonight we're going to talk about relationship with others, and this is a very fantastic and full topic because it could be very entertaining, but we know it could be also very damaging. Relationship can really, really hurt, and sometimes we think that we can be totally traumatized by relationships. Before we go into that, the question I would suggest is, can we take a moment to try to think about different relationships we have in our life? And if you were to think of few relationships that you would consider to be really harmonious relationship, try to put names and imagine who would be people that you would say, yeah, these people, pretty good harmony. Do you have many? No. And I'm sure there would be a few, right? Who are we in harmony with? And the difficulty you might find is to question, well, what percentage of harmony are we talking about? It's one thing to be able to be in front of someone and be in harmony, and it's another thing to be dancing the cha-cha-cha with the other person and still be in harmony without, stepping on their feet. And so what type of harmony do we talk about? And what would be the percentage of harmony we have with someone? Is it harmony which is anything proof, can resist bad situations, bad news, even if they lie to you, it's okay? Or is there a limit? At some point you will say, well, this is not going to work anymore. So it's just even that concept. It's tricky, isn't it? Okay, you can think of someone where you say, I get along well with that person. You can think of someone saying, I love that person, right? So does it necessarily mean there is, harmony that can resist all the different circumstances? Now, if we think of someone that we feel we don't have a harmonious relationship at all, that might be interesting to look at it also. Who are the people with whom you would feel it's not working? You've tried, it's just not working. So we could take time to explore that, Technically you could take a whole day actually, but it gives headache when we think about these things because we have to analyze and it's complicated. So it's much better having somebody analyzing for us and helping us figure out what to do, what relationships work and what relationship doesn't work. One element I find crucial in evaluating a relationship is how much am I bothered or disturbed or destabilized or hurt by someone's personality, attitude, actions. And if there's some kind of, unpleasant feelings in relationship with someone, there's definitely a lack of harmony somewhere. It's like you're in an orchestra and you're playing the violin and the person next to you is playing the cymbal. And then you just play your violin and say, hey, whoa, what are you doing? This is wrong. You're hurting my ears. I can't even hear my violin. Something wrong here. You're not following your score or something is wrong. Doesn't mean it's not possible. In orchestra, you do have violins and cymbals and all these things together. But if they don't play properly, it will hurt your ears and you might feel you're not being respected. Every time you play a note, in your ears, well, it's not the right time, later, it's my turn, not yours. You play the little adagio and he comes with his big thing, hey, did you hear me? That wouldn't be very nice. And yet, what can you say? This is his instrument. You cannot ask him, can you play another instrument? But you can maybe try to figure out, is there a way we can both play our instruments in such a way that people will clap at the end and say, that is so beautiful. Because in music, you can make duets with anything. One can play a table, knocking at the table, and the other one twisting his fingers, and you can make music. It's beautiful. Just depending how you play with it, with each other. Cooperation, yeah. Understanding and so many elements that will be required. No, the ego makes the noise, right? The ego doesn't want too much cooperation with the orchestra. So in our life, we are constantly interacting with other people. And the focus of Raj Yoga is to help us to recreate healthy relationships, no matter what. And this is the big issue, is that in relationships, most of the time, we expect other people to change and we demand that some people change. In spirituality, we realize that sometimes it's just not going to happen. And if it's not going to happen, then what do I do? Do I keep suffering because the attitude, the personality of the other person? Or do I have options so I can be in such a position that I'm not suffering from the relationship? In a relationship, there are two polarizations, liking and disliking, being pulled, being repulsed. It's different magnetic energies. And usually we're rarely neutral. I don't know what you think, but I might have to think more about it, but I find that we're rarely neutral about relationship. Because instead of being neutral, we become indifferent. Is that the English word? Indifferent? And indifferent is disliking. Everything. Same. To dislike or to be indifferent is same. Sometimes you say, oh, it doesn't bother me. It's actually slightly, rejection. Minor, but it's slightly rejection. So we usually deal with the pull of energy, of liking or disliking to different degrees. And what we find is that whenever a relationship really influences me, and it starts to go into intensity and disliking or liking, it's bound to destabilize myself. So those who are negative, easy to understand. You really dislike somebody, it bothers you, can't sleep, you're spinning your head, you're talking to that person in your dreams and anytime, and it's hurting and you feel pain. But usually the other way around, we don't see it coming because we were pulled by someone, we love that person, there's a magnetic attraction and we feel good with the person. But our observation shows that there's always a moment or another when that pull becomes suddenly a force that becomes negative. And people we love very much will just say one word one day, and it will hurt us as much, if not even more, than a person that we don't like who says the same thing. Because we feel hurt, we feel betrayed, we feel that I was trusting you, I was loving you, and how did you tell me this? So sometimes attraction, positive magnetic attraction, will also destabilize us. And what we find is that the reason is because in relationship, most of the time, we lose the anchor of being strong in who I am. And suddenly in connection with someone else, I become somebody else. And I lose my own identity. And I become influenced by the identity of the other. And this is what sometimes we call attachment, being influenced, being dependent, these kind of energies. And these are usually going to create problem. And the reason why this is happening is because once we lose the anchor of who I am, my relationship with somebody else becomes what we call a karma, which turns into a karmic account. And so from a position of neutrality, we enter an interaction where we're building karmic accounts. And those karmic accounts, when they are being created, we don't realize it. But it's when they are coming back to us, the boomerang. You throw your boomerang, oh nice, funny. When it comes back and it hits you in the back of your head, you say, what was that? Well, that's the same thing you just threw in the air and you thought it was gone. But it wasn't gone. It just went around and hit you right back in your head. And when it comes back hitting yourself, you say, oh, what happened? And because you threw the boomerang maybe 5 years ago or 2 years ago or 6 months ago, when it comes back, we forgot how it's connected. So relationships, when they unstabilize the self from who I am, they force me to get into this karmic account thing. And we have positive karmic account with people, and we have negative karmic account with people. If we interact with someone on the basis of values that are positive, peace, respect, generosity, love, tolerance, many qualities, we're building a positive karmic account. But if we're creating a relationship based on competition, comparison, judgment, expectations, dependency, desires, and so on, then that simple relationship, which is going for coffee with a person, having chit-chat with a person, writing email to the person, without knowing we are nurturing a negative karmic account, one of dependency, of influence, and ultimately of attachment, which will create pain in one way or another. So the spiritual approach is to reconsider relationships in such a way that I first anchor myself properly in my own identity, my own true self. Who am I? And then, what's happening? Instead of, oh, what's happening here? And then 10 years later, but who am I? I lost myself, which is sometimes what happens. So anchoring the self in the reality of the self is going back to what we discussed last week. I am the soul. I'm here. I'm being of light. I'm eternal. I come from a soul world. I'm playing my role. This is a great body. I enjoy it. And this is a drama. And I'm just doing my own part in the drama. And one day, the drama for me will be called The End. And it will be says, you go out now. Your part is over. Om Shanti. Yeah, see you next life. And we'll have to exit. That will be the end of the drama. So imagine an actor at the end of a play which is supposed to leave the stage and he doesn't want to. And the person says, you're supposed to go now. No, I'm not going. I'm staying on stage. No, is that your part is over. You have to go. The drama is over for you. And then he just doesn't want to. No, I'm going to stay here. Then you call the cops or you call the ambulance, and the psychologist says, I think he went wrong, it's not, he forgot it's a drama. And we are like that. We forget we are playing a drama. So the spiritual system will be first reminding myself, who am I? Creating an experience of the self as a soul. Experiencing the self-esteem that I'm not just a soul, I'm a great soul. And I alone am connected to the Supreme Being, the life force, nature, and I can create harmony in that level. And then I come into interaction with other people. I know it's a beautiful theory. As soon as you go through the door, you'll think it's impossible. And you'll think, what was that again? If somebody just passes by and then splashes you with water on the street, you'll totally forget about this is such a nice soul who's just playing his role in the drama. You totally forget that. That's normal. Because we haven't trained ourselves to do that way. We have only been trained and accustomed to say, well, this is, the director of the company. Oh, director of the company. And we have a different attitude with the person because he is a director of the company. And if he were not to be the director of the company, he would have a different attitude. I don't know if I told you that I shared it recently, I think, but I was in India many years ago. I was very young. And we were in one of the main hall at the headquarters, and there was to be a program. And we're just waiting until, the program starts, and it was to be a panel discussion. And because when we go to India, we wear all white and, Indian dress, so we're all in kurta pajama and simple dress, very easy. Then I went there, and I remember I was sitting in the back benches, and then there was somebody next to me. And we just started talking because it was we were just waiting for the beginning of the program. And usually when we go there, because it's an international gathering, very often you would say, oh, where are you from, or which country, and the person would say, oh, I'm from such a country. Oh, yeah, the Brahma Kumaris for a long time, yeah, and this and that. So chit-chat, as usual. And Indian time is such that sometimes program can be delayed by quite a long time. So we went on a discussion, and we started chatting and chatting and chatting. I was very nice, and it was a very nice fellow, I had a good discussion. And I remember very clearly that I liked him, it was friendly and very, very good discussion. And then the people arrived, okay, sorry, we're late, and this and that. Let's have a few minutes meditation. And then they started introducing the program, and they say, we're so honored today to have, an exceptional man here. And they started doing the curriculum of that guy. And I thought, I wonder who is this? Must be really such a nice guy, I want to know. And then I say, please welcome, Sir, Minister, the Honorable, whatever. And it's the guy next to me who stand up. And he goes down and says, hey, you were dressed like me. You were not wearing any big tie and, big fancy. No, he was just wearing simple clothes. So I was so surprised, and to me it was the biggest lesson, because I realized immediately that after the talk, and he was like impressive, I went to the panel and I thought, wow, I was sitting next to the Honorable Minister. I forgot the title, but he had a long thing like this, and I was impressed. And so I realized that after the talk, I was having a hard time to talk to him with the same familiarity that I had before that, because my vision changed. I said, oh, this is the top, such a big guy. And this is what we call in spirituality body consciousness. Just like you associate someone with their role, with their body, with their title, the way they are. And so it made me realize that I was not soul conscious at all in that relationship. And just because of a name, a position, I got influenced. Imagine that person, and I know I'll be politically in a slippery road here, but imagine that I changed my view and I say, wow, what a great person and such a big name and title. And I start to be very, humble and, oh, sir, you're such a great person. And 3 weeks later, we find that he's an abusive person, doing wrong things with young people. And we'd say, oh, okay, changing again. So I had familiarity as my friend, then he became VIP, now he's like, not a VIP anymore. It will have meant that at every step, I didn't communicate with the soul. I communicated with just an exterior package. Because the fact that I'm told that he is, abusive with other people may be totally untrue. Maybe somebody just wants to hurt him and throws that in the air, and it's absolutely untrue. And that person just wants his position. So by the end, you really wonder, how do I figure out who is who, and how do I communicate with that soul? And suddenly we realize that our communication with other people is determined by how I look at the person and what I see in that person. Another example I've used a lot was a colleague at work that suddenly was replaced many years ago again. And I was told that suddenly my new colleague at work would be such a person. And I was in Calgary at the time, and I was told that I was the only French-speaking person at CPC at the time for television. And they said, your colleague is going to be this one. And when I heard who it was, I thought it was a joke. And I said, you can't bring this guy with me in Calgary. We'll be two. And all the English people will think we're crazy, because this guy is really not easy and he's not good, And so, well, it's not your choice, and this is who you're going to work with anyway. And to be honest, I was not happy. And I was like thinking, oh. So this guy moved to Calgary, became my new colleague, and hello, how are you doing? And he was quite hard to play with. Was really not a very easy person, very strong personality. And most people immediately, all my English colleagues, came to me very quickly and says, who is this guy? Why did they name him here? And sorry, bad reputation for Radio Canada. And to be honest, it was hard. For me, I was really practicing Raj Yoga intensively. This is a soul, I'm okay, he's playing his role, he's bringing up light. And I was trying hard to be positive, but he was really pushing my buttons every day. And I think I've told you that story before, but one day he told me, do you mind to, we were a bit late in the evening for the show, and he said, do you mind to go at reception, and my girlfriend just arrived, and do you mind to tell her to wait for me? And to be very honest with you, I was young, and my thought was, you have a girlfriend? Wow. Can't wait to see who she is. I mean, are you kidding me? Poor her, I was bad. I know I'm being healed, practicing Raj Yoga for a long time. But at that time, I was really bad. And so I really had those thoughts, like, what kind of girlfriend will play with this guy? So I went to the reception just to be nice, and to my biggest surprise, I see this woman. I said, yeah, you're really waiting for him? And I said, yeah, okay. So don't say anything, just make your wait and this. And I said, oh, yeah, nice. A very nice person, just a little bit. And I quickly picked up that, wow, that's a very odd couple, I don't know how they met each other. And this scene happened a few times. So every time he asked me, do you mind? And he was always late. And I keep thinking, come on, I'm not your, valet parking. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go and talk to your girlfriend and ask her to wait because, it's electronic gates, you cannot get in. And one day it was beyond my control. I had to talk to her and very nicely ask her, how did you meet, both of you? And I started to do my investigative journalist, and I started to ask her questions, about, basically, what did you see in him that you really like? And I started to formulate, and then she smiled and said, I know what you're asking, and I know most people are finding it very odd that I'm with him. And I said, yeah, I do find it odd, so just tell me. And she started to tell me his life story, which, to my big surprise, never occurred to me to ask him anything about his life, because he was so repulsive that you don't want to enter his world, I mean, repulsive in a sense. His personality was a bit annoying. So you immediately reject it. Your natural system is protective, rejecting. I don't want to know much about you. You're really annoying me just by being here. Even without speaking, I'm not happy with you. It was that much. And so she started telling me his life story, and it was fascinating. And I was listening to her thinking, Eric, how did you not think about asking him where he comes from, what's his story, and and then suddenly things became very clear, what kind of childhood he had, what he went through, but what he was doing outside of CBC, which I never asked him either. And I realized, oh my goodness, this guy is involved in this group and doing that. And I said, how can we miss it? How can he look so annoying here? And you're telling me all kind of things that don't match what I'm saying. And of course, some people are so, wounded. They're so damaged internally that they create a facade to hide it. So they don't want anybody to get into their life because there's a lot of things in there. So of course he played a role that was very arrogant and assertive and I know everything and very unpleasant. And so we had that long chat with his girlfriend, and then suddenly, okay, fine. So the next few days I can't remember detail, but I started to ask him questions. And he said, did you talk to, I forgot her name, but my girlfriend? And I said, no, just a little bit. And then he started to realize, she talked to you, right? I said, well, you never told me that. He said, well, you never asked me. I said, oh, okay, fair, just fair. So we started to develop a different relationship. And I went beyond, and to be honest with you, he was physically quite not aligned with my taste, I would say. He was kind of strong, appearance. So he had everything against him, in a way. But when you dig internally, he was actually quite a very nice fellow. Very little, I would say, I'm trying to find the right word, hurt child, something like that, like a beaten child or something like that. So once I started seeing it, I actually came quite close to him, to the point that people would ask me at work, how do you get along with him now? What's happening to you? Are you in drugs? Or everybody were joking, asking me, did you take pill or is there anything? Because when he was working with the other guys, they were not happy at all. And I said, no. And I started telling people sometimes, just ask him to go for coffee. If you're really working with him regularly, ask him for coffee and chat with him. You'll find out. And it was very funny because after a few months, he told me one day, he says, Eric, I like you. Stop telling people to ask me for coffee because it's a third person who is doing this kind of interview with me. And what did you say? And his name was Jean. I said, just be nice with them. And then he says, well, and then he was still himself. And anyway, I was friendly enough with him that I remember going to water his plants when he was away or giving food to his cats and stuff like that. And we came close enough, I would say. That was not my best friend, but I liked him and we were close enough. Yeah, so I'm telling you all that story because, it's totally unprobable, unexpected, harmonious relationship. But what had to change was how I was looking at him. And how do you know how to look at someone? You have to ask them. You have to communicate. You have to listen. You have to go beyond our prejudices, racism, judgments, preconceived ideas. And at CBC we went through a session to increase the awareness about unconscious bias. And it was very interesting. It was a professional session where they want to show you that even if you think you don't have, you do have unconscious bias. And they told us also what they did in other groups, and it was very interesting. One group, for example, was given bits and pieces, like photograph of people cut into pieces, and you have few pieces. So sometimes you pick up a piece of a face, and it's just maybe just that portion of the face with a piercing and a little tattoo. And then another one you'll have, has another element. Another one has another element, just a hair. Another one is the hand. So you have all your body parts, in a way, on your table. And then you are told, okay, you have 5 job assignments. Who are you going to give a job to? So let's say there's a nurse opening. Based on what you have, who do you think will be the best candidate to be a nurse? So they will look, and then they will put, this one is good for a nurse. This one is good for this. This one is good for that. And of course there were more pieces of paper than jobs opportunities. And at the end, they asked people, so which body part are you left with, which you didn't assign a job to? They all had the same people, which meant that the unconscious bias was, as soon as you see this, most people would think, I don't trust. You have great people in the world who are doing amazing things. They do have a piercing in their nose, and they are still doing great things. It doesn't mean anything. Some people are wearing strange things, and they are still good people. Let's not go even into the slippery territory of, what kind of what kind of thing you put in your head, or signs, that you have because of some reasons. So unconscious bias. And when we went through that session, even for me, when I thought, I don't think I do. I mean, I'm soul conscious. I see the soul, and I'm okay with black, yellow, blue, big, tall, whatever. I was really pushed to some, cross-reference questions, and then you realize, you see, I still went in that tendency. Why? Because unconscious bias. And consciously, still, there's the belief way back in my head that this group of people can't trust. This group of people, it's called bias. We cannot generalize. So it's a long detour, but to go around this concept of to create harmony in relationship is first to anchor myself in the right lecture of who I am. I'm a soul, I'm a spiritual being. This is a big drama, I'm playing my part. But then who am I talking to? Who is in front of me? And if you look at the people with whom you have a difficulty in your relationships, most likely they have a strong name, attribute, function. This is my boss. I have a problem with my boss. And that boss, you have a hard time to see him or her not being a boss. But 5 years ago, that person may not have been your boss. And in 5 years, that person may not be your boss anymore. So who am I really talking to? A role. And the role is bothering me. But I'm not seeing beyond the role. And the relationship that I have a hard time with, most of the time, I'm going to be focusing on a wrong interpretation of those 6 elements: name, form, address, attributes, skills or activities, and the relationship I have with them. So if it's your mother, it's been many, many years during which your thought has been, she's my mother. And the only way I'm looking at her is my mother. And you have been repeating to yourself maybe for many years, I don't get along well with my mother. We've been repeating it again and again. And whenever you look at that woman, you see her as your mother, isn't it? So if it's your neighbor, it's your neighbor. If it's your friend, if it's your brother, if it's your husband, if it's your dog, even that is... we don't heal relationship with animals. We'll leave it for another time. But for human beings, our goal in Raj Yoga is to say that we'd love to have harmonious relationship with. What would be the percentage of success in relationships you would aim for? Any idea? 100%? Yeah? Who says...
We avoid the 98% we don't get along with. To have 100% of the 2%.
Yeah. We could aim for 100%. That's a good aim. We try to be more realistic. We say, no, 100% close, you can reach it. But if not, we say 95% would be already a big achievement. Because there's always 5%, they say. That doesn't matter what you do. They are playing their thing. And if they're after you, and if they are crazy, there's only so much you can do. So you find your 5%. You can choose to. Yeah. So they will come into the category of those that you are a bit avoiding.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, and it's okay. And we say that is okay. Because it's no point putting your hand in a fire to say, you see, I told you I was going to be burnt. I say, yeah, don't put your hand in there. You're going to be burnt, no doubt. And we know that.
Then you're not settling your karma.
Yes, you can settle your karma by accepting and knowing that you're settling your karma in that 5%. So you're enduring it. You're still enduring, means you are paying your bills. You're just not reciprocating and you're not increasing it, but you're settling it. That 5% will be there until it's settled. And the day it's settled, then it's 100%. Yeah, might be an option. Don't wish for it and don't precipitate it, because then that becomes big karmic account. So you can't get that way. Careful with that option. Wait until that. Some people still have karmic account even after they died. They still feel angry about them. But 95% is a big number, which means out of 100 people, only 5 you're allowed to be towards the neutral. I'm not talking 5 that you can be totally upset and mad and yell after them and scream after them. No.
Not 5% of each person.
No.
Oh.
That's another way of... No. 100% with 95%. And I would say 60% with the 5% remaining. No. Easy. Easy, Raj Yoga. Yeah. Because it's all based on the same lenses that I'm going to use. Who are they? Who am I looking at? And why am I upset about this person? Why am I having a hard time with that person? Because I'm not seeing that person as a soul. So the first thing will be to rethink, this is a soul, this is a soul, this is a soul. Brahma Baba, the founder of the organization, when he understood that, to make it firm in his head, he wrote on a wall one day, forgot the name of his wife, do you remember, Christine? Shiva, Shabda, anyway, I forgot the name. Huh? He wrote the name of his wife. Let's say it's Juliette. Could be Juliette, I don't know. And he said, Juliette is a soul, Juliette is a soul. And he wrote it down 100 times. Juliette is a soul, Juliette is a soul, Juliette is a soul, Juliette is a soul. Until it started to click, because he knew he had seen that soul as his wife for so long that it was fixed. He couldn't think of her not being her wife, his wife. So he had to deconstruct this identity. Not that it is not a true identity, but it's a partial identity. It's not a real identity. It's a superficial identity. It's like if you're wearing a beautiful dress and I'm impressed thinking you're a very wealthy person. Might just be a costume that you rented at the costume department. They say in French, the dress doesn't define the monk, right? They say, that don't translate in English, I don't know, but they say don't judge someone by their dress. My grandfather wrote one day, he says, don't judge a man by his tie. Probably it's just a gift from his wife or somebody else. He says, don't judge him by his tie. Don't know who they are. And it's why sometimes when you see big people, if you were to see Justin Trudeau tomorrow on the street, in little short and t-shirt, with holes in it and not well combed, you might not even recognize him, and it will change what you think about the person. Same person, just different hairstyle and different dress. So the name, she's my wife, or he's my husband, or he's my friend, or he's my son, or he's my father, they're artificial identities. And big chunk of the problem is connected to that identity. And if I change that vision and I say to myself, this is a soul, and just give time to that thought to generate a new feeling, then we are starting to undo certain things. It doesn't mean that when you see that person you say, oh, hello soul, how are you? You can still call your son, hello son, how are you? You can still call, but in your mind you know, he's my son, but really he's a soul. And he's playing the role of my son. So the 6 elements we talked about last week, the form, the name, the residence, qualities, activities, and my relationship is very different. Because your relationship with the soul is not anymore, she's my wife. You would say, well, spiritually speaking, she's my sister. And deeply spirituality speaking, actually he's my brother, which is very odd, isn't it? Because you can't go and see your wife and say, hello brother, how are you? She says, are you okay? Did I cook something wrong for you yesterday? What happened? So we cannot say it in words, it doesn't make a sense. But philosophically speaking, spiritually speaking, it does make a sense. It does make sense. As a soul, souls are like brothers, they're like equals, brother souls. Christ, when he spoke, apparently he said, you are all my brothers. Or you would say brother and sisters. It used to be the norm in society to call each other brother and sisters. In Catholicism, a long time ago, in Hinduism, in India, when I used to go 30 years ago, people would call us bhai, bhen, brother, sister, all the time. Very easy. In the street, people say, brother, yes. Here, talk to somebody and says, brother, can I help you? They will feel like you're a religious creep, like somebody dangerous. They wouldn't, well, I'm not your brother, They will feel scared if you were to tell someone, brother. But as soon as you get friendly with someone, they can accept that closeness, that spiritual relationship. So imagine a person with whom you have a relationship which is difficult. Just to visualize that person in front of you and say, this is a soul in the body. And that soul is playing his role or her role. And to repeat ourselves that idea that this is just a role. And actually they're playing their role perfectly. Because this is their role and this is the way it's written in the drama. They're exactly doing what they should be doing in the drama. This is their role. And the drama is perfect. Now, what I'm going to do about it, well, that's up to me. So if the guy is doing in the middle of the concert and you're next to the person, maybe your role is to say, you're playing very well. I'm just going to go this over there. And it's likely you have good wishes. So you keep playing, maybe my role is over there. And you just go there. And then from a distance you say, hi. And you'll enjoy him doing this, but you'll be listening to your violin. And it won't bother you. So what do I do with the relationship? It's up to me. Now, if I suffer because of that relationship, it means there's already a little problem. It means there is a karmic account. It means that with that particular soul, there is a history. There's a little past that is there. Or it means that that soul's role is pushing a button which is a weakness in me. My ego, my intolerance, my impatience. So maybe there's no karmic account, but the role of the person is hurting me because I'm wounded. And imagine a little child that comes to you after you had massive surgery, let's say in your belly. They open it up, pull out everything, then put some IKEA pieces in there, close it up. And after your surgery, the little young person come, hello, how are you? Ah! Sir! The little boy doesn't mean anything. He didn't want to hurt you. Right? He doesn't know. But he's just pushing something that is very, very delicate. Nothing wrong with the little boy. You cannot tell the little boy, you stupid, don't you know I've been having surgery? You say, what is surgery? I don't understand. I'm 5 years old. Cannot understand, isn't it? So now, same situation. You are a little bit coming out of a spiritual hospital. Your ego has been slightly smushed. You don't have too much of a big self-esteem. You're a little bit unsecured about yourself, and somebody shows up and says something, and you feel so no respect, I'm hurt, and he didn't tell me something good, and how can he talk to me like this, and this is intolerable, and who doesn't think he is, and this is not right, I'm just going to complain, I'm going to send things to the media, and then calm down, like he's just playing his role. And you are damaged. And there's no karmic account. First time you meet this person in your eternal life, never met before. It's just playing his role. And his role was to push here and say, hello, how are you? Ah, not too good. I hate you because you pushed my button. This is the wrong reaction. You push my button, I hate you. If the little boy or the little girl touch something in you that has been, wounded, would you say the little person that you know is innocent? Would you tell the person, oh, I don't like you? No, you might be, come on, just don't do that. And then you will feel, oh, I'm being rude to someone who cannot know. So the other person is playing a role. I know you can say, yeah, but he should know that he should talk nicely to everyone. No, his role in the script is you're the villain. You are the vampire. You see someone? You just take their blood. Yeah, and they turn wrong, Nice movies are made like this. We pay fortune to go and see them. And we say, nice movie. Oh, all Dracula and this. How many versions of Dracula have they made? If it's such a bad thing, they should have stopped. No, they're version number 28 of Dracula, isn't it? People like it. They watch it. They pay for it. So what's wrong with your boss who is a vampire? It's good. Congratulations. I give you an Oscar. You play your role very well. You killed everybody at work. Congratulations. They're all dead. You did very well. You're the villain. Now, who am I in the drama? Am I going to be just a victim? Or do I become the new hero who has a magic little tool, a magic little weapon that will transform the villain into an angel? How will I do that? I have to stop looking at him as a villain. I have to change my vision. I have to see the soul. I have to talk to the soul. I have to connect in a different level. And if I approach the villain without fear, without anger, without pain, the villain will maybe react differently. I like that video of, now it's all fake news, but this was a video of an elephant charging a person. And so they showed that the elephant, it's big, elephant, like mature elephant. And he came running, and the guy was, of course, he knows animals, and he's animal lovers and everything. And his feeling is, if you don't have any fear, the animal will feel it. And you could tell the elephant came charging, and it stopped like that with the ears, and threw in the noise and charged the guy. And the guy stayed just totally peaceful. And the elephant stopped and he started changing his body language. And realized I'm in front of someone who has no fear and it's not going to hurt me. The elephant didn't hurt. Doesn't have to. It's not threatened. So when the villain comes and we react to it, then he plays his role of a villain. But if the villain comes and I play my role of a hero, he becomes how to say in Hindi, the diamond, the hero. In Hindi, the word for diamond is hero, right? Hira. So I'm a hero, he's a hero. So you see him as a hero, and you are a hero. Changing the consciousness. And I know it's a big theory. I'm actually going through it right now. I have a vampire at work that started to bite me. And I'm really in the midst of it at the moment, practicing it as I'm talking to you right now. And it's not easy. It's really not easy. And we've been pushed on a regular basis in those kind of situations. But who do I have to protect? The self. You have to protect yourself. And the moment I'm suffering because of somebody else, it means I'm not respecting myself. It means I'm not anchored in my self-awareness. And I'm being influenced by a polarizing energy in the relationship. It's a magnet that is pulling me to liking or disliking. And when I'm into it, trouble is very, very just around the corner. And anchoring the self as a soul, looking the other as a soul, and starting to think this soul is just playing his role or her role, and it's fine. Later on I can try to influence the person to play another role, but it's not going to work necessarily. Some people, the moment you start to tell them, it would have been nice if you didn't tell me such a bad thing, they may not hear what you say. And they would say, who do you think you are? Why would I tell you something nice? And they would go on worse in their thing. So it's better to say nothing. But if they keep barking and you keep bringing flowers, sometime they might start to think, what is this person? I've been biting him for so long, and he keeps bringing flowers all the time. He's such a stupid person. And one day he would start to say, maybe he's not stupid. Actually, I need those flowers. And he will feel that one day, if there's one person to whom he can go closer, maybe it's you. And it might be only in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now. But you would have done the right thing always. So it's not easy, but the theory is clear. And the harmony comes from the vision, the way I see. And if the vision is not right, it becomes division. It separates. So changing division is just changing the vision, just the way we look at people. And the exercise we need to do is, and I'm really speaking to myself at the moment, is to chant the rosary of the qualities of the other person. And we are told in Raj Yoga that if a person has 99 defects and one quality, the advice would be just focus on the one quality. It might be very narrow, but then it's easy. You have only one to think about. And you focus on that quality. Because that quality will create the harmony in the relationship, which means it will be part of breaking up the rigidity, the division of the relationship. And plus, if I only focus on that quality, it's going to strengthen that quality in the other person. If, let's say, if I realize, oh, my wallet is gone, and I would say, there's no way, only somebody here must have taken it. And I start to look, did you take my wallet? People would feel, don't look at me like this. So just the energy of how do I look at potential thief. So you might be very offended, thinking, how dare you thinking that I'm a thief? But me, I lost my wallet. I don't know who is a thief here. But I would start to project an attitude which may not be right. So when you don't like someone, what do? You are entertaining something in your head, a scenario in your head, which may not even be completely true. A person told you something, acted in such a way. Do you know exactly why the person went that way? You have your own version, but is it the real one? Maybe that person on that day had just a big stomach ache, and was really trying to go through the day with a very bad news, and maybe his son or her son is dying of cancer, and you don't know that. And that person is a bit rude with you, and you say, how dare that person be rude with me, and this and that. And then you speak to everybody else in the office about it, and how rude that person was, and how no respect that person has for employees, and you start generating a whole, dislike feeling for the person, and the person is actually going through hell. So congratulations for my own empathy and my own mercy and my own wisdom to feel the pulse properly of the person. So we're focusing on me, but the other person is playing a role. Why is that role being played? Must be a reason. If there's a karmic account, all right, fine, I have to settle it. If there's no karmic account, I'm weak. There's a wound within me. That also is not his fault. It's my fault. I have to re-strengthen, to rebuild my own self-esteem. And then I'll be okay. So being careful that images, I think of that person to be such a person, maybe not. But who do I think I am? In a relationship with employees and directors, you say, well, my boss is so bad. Yeah, but you still consider yourself to be an employee, don't you? That also is the wrong identity. I'm not an employee. I'm God's best friend. That's my identity. I'm a soul. That's my identity. I'm a being of light. That's my identity. I'm temporary. I'm wearing the dress of, what is it, employee? Yeah, okay, fine. Artificial, temporary. Because tomorrow they may fire me. I won't be an employee anymore. So it's temporary identity. But we're creating conflicts on the basis of those identities. And so harmony in relationship with other people really starts for me in aligning myself with who I am as a spiritual being, creating that vision for the other, and then there's harmony. And we'll see with God is the same thing. If we put God unattainable, and me as a little cockroach, ramping somewhere on earth, it's not a good start in relationship. Does it make sense? Or I know we just took one aspect, but that relationship, there's many more ideas that we can develop, karmic accounts in particular, expectations, all this attachment. There's so many factors. But I just felt we can focus on that little thing about identity tonight. And I really worked personally, my experience, with a few people that was a bit conflicting and problematic. I really practiced that method. See them as a soul, my sister, my brother, changing my vision and giving time to that. And visualizing that person as a soul, center of the forehead as a being of light. It's a soul, it's a soul, it's a soul. And I have good wishes for the soul. I'm not judging the soul. I don't like the role, but it's okay. I'll play my role. And I'm just sending good wishes, sending good wishes, sending good wishes. Detaching, re-strengthening my own dignity. I know who I am. Repeating that constantly. And I found it very, very helpful. Really, really helpful. It melts the karmic account with a person. And then you can come back to the person fairly neutral, in a sense we feel good. I know who I am, I'm okay. And you approach the person without being scared of being hurt, without being, reacting because of the past. Past is past, okay, I'm moving forward. And they may just do the same thing and act the same way. That belongs to them. You feel proud of not being influenced, of not being going the same way. He says something wrong or she says something wrong, then I reply something wrong. This is not good for self-esteem, I find. But if the person goes wrong and I stay okay, then it's very good for self-esteem. Deal? Fine, 5%. So let's meditate just a few seconds about it, just to sit with that thought. And then let's go in the laboratory outside and see how it applies and how we can make it a reality. So just sit in silence. Opens the door for the big screen of my mind. Visualizing a scene in nature. It is already spring. I'm walking on this path, beautiful, in the countryside. No traffic, no one around. Just this little trail surrounded by grass in a valley. And then I reach a beautiful, quiet space with so many wild flowers, just like a tapestry. Nature's magic, the beauty of nature with so many flowers of so many different kinds. And I noticed they can all be there together, and yet being so different. Some have thorns, some don't. Some have very nice fragrance, others don't. Some are very peculiar. Some are big and dominant. The sunflower is so high, so proud. And the little lilies are there in the water pond. But each and every flower contributes to the tapestry of beauty. And I see myself like one of those flowers in the bouquet of humanity, surrounded by so many other flowers. And yes, some are like me. But the majority is different. And yet I can get along, understanding that together we create the bouquet of humanity. And I just focus on who I am as one unique flower. And at that moment, I feel that the whole power of this scene is when I feel who I am. That even if I am just a tiny little flower in the field of millions of flowers, I radiate. I have a personal and direct connection with the sun, with the universe, with the world. And I have nothing to be ashamed of. I am one of the most beautiful flowers in the whole field, because each and every flower is unique. So I see myself as a strong, beautiful, unique being of light. And as I fill myself with that awareness, I can release the fragrance of love and peace, joy. I'm a contented being. I'm strong. I'm bright. And whoever comes in front of me, I can give love. I can give peace. I can give joy. Good. Do you think we could have started going for a few more minutes in that? Easy, huh? To go into quietness and experience. So, wish you a wonderful weekend with vampires and flowers and everything. See you next Friday.